One, yes. Adrian?
Thank you, Nick and Ulrika. Thank you very much. Good evening, friends, and welcome. A very warm welcome to this special evening. Special because it's the first, I think, in IofC's history to have an awards ceremony. This is the IofC Trustbuilding Awards, and it's the first one. So in a way, it's a pilot. If
it goes green.
All goes well, we shall have it as an annual event, and it will be accompanied by an annual lecture. And it will be the IofC annual lecture and awards event, which will be, or could be, in different parts of the world. Thank you. As many of you know, and when I spoke earlier today at the closing of the Healing of the Wounds of the Past session of the Caux Forum, IofC aims to inspire, equip, and connect change makers in the pursuit of a just and peaceful world. Trust building is at the heart of what we do and what we have been doing for the last 50, 75, 100 years. We also recognize that there is more need for trust building in the world, and we recognize that IofC is far from where MRA used to be in terms of meeting the world needs. Or at least I do. If somebody wants to disagree, it's fine. So, in trying to, what do you call it in English? Up our game. We have launched the Trust Building program 4 years ago. This new initiative under the title of Trust Building is also another initiative to A, recognize those trust builders who may or not be part of initiatives of a change, recognize their work, encourage it, raise their profile, but in return, that same thing can happen to initiatives of a change, so that our impact can be, I was going to say greater, but it's all about reaching the potential to respond to a world in need. And that is our collective calling. So, we, as a pilot, we thought we will start with 3 awards, and we will open it to IofC and non-IofC. I'll come back to the 3 awards and later the winners and more about the awards, but it would be appropriate to just hear a little bit more about the Trust Building program. And let's hear from Talia Smith, who is the program manager, please. Talia.
Thank you, Imad. Good evening, everyone. We've had quite a day today, so it's a pleasure to be on stage in this nice occasion as the Trust Building Awards. So, as Imad mentioned, Initiatives of Change International has an international trust building program. So what we do, we develop and empower both local IofC teams and communities to overcome divisions in their local context, as well as build social cohesion and build trust through the transformation of individuals. So we started in 2019 with 3 pilot projects, and since then we're now operating in 12 countries around the world, including Indonesia, Nigeria, South Africa, Australia, and several others. In each of these local countries, they identify a division of trust in their country or their community that the team wants to address. So the teams are locally, the projects are locally owned, it's from their community, it's their issue, and it's their solutions as well. At the international level, we support our local teams, and we use an international manual And this manual and methodology to build trust is based on around 30 years of racial reconciliation work in the United States through IofC there. And it's a simple yet very profound way of building trust. And it's starting with oneself as the key principle of initiatives of change, acknowledging historical wounds, which is what we've been looking at these last 4 days. The third step is holding honest and open and inclusive dialogue, honest conversations, and then building and sustaining local networks of trust builders. Last year, the program was awarded the United Nations Intercultural Innovation Award, and that really was a testimony for these 12 teams that are doing incredible work in their countries. You can see some of our data and our reach to our teams in the audience. You can see some of our data and our reach there. And of course, we've got many beautiful, powerful stories of transformation and lives that have been changed on the ground with our local teams working with these communities. But none of this would be possible without our key partner, which is the FETSA Institute. So just to acknowledge them and thank them here. That's a brief overview, but tonight is more about the local trust builders in IofC and outside of IofC. So back to you, Imad. Thank you.
You'll be back shortly, don't go far. So the vision is really to get this program as a vehicle to strengthen IofC trust building work, which goes back to decades, but also to raise its profile as a product, as a program that can be recognized so that IofC locally, regionally, and internationally can be invited to help bring our distinctive contribution to specific situation where communal and other broken relationships need help. So that's the vision for the trust building work of Initiatives of a Change. The awards, should they continue to grow, will create even another layer of a network of trust builders who can mutually support each other and be recognized for their work. So I think we just need to get on with knowing who are these 3 winners. All I just need to say before I invite Talia back to announce the winners is that we didn't really advertise far. We used the website and just encouraged people through the email communication to apply if they qualify or to send it. We received a total of, I think, 30 applications. We had a jury of 5 members, 3 from Initiatives of a Change and 2 from our partners from outside Initiatives of a Change. Our president will speak at the end and give a vote of thanks, but I just want to recognize 3 main partners in this that made it possible. One is the Caux Foundation, because we are here and we're using this venue to launch this first award ceremony. The second is FETSA Institute, only in recognizing the overall support for the trust building work as opposed to this specific initiative. And thirdly, IofC USA, Initiative to Change United States, who have generously come to actually help us give a symbolic monetary award, if you like, to add to this so that we recognize people and we enable them a little bit. So thank you also to IofC USA. There's somewhere here. Thank you to the board and to the management of IofC USA. Thank you. So Talia, if we could please find out who are those 3 friends are.
Well, this is the exciting bit. All in anticipation. So we've got a very impressive lineup of awardees today. 2 winners are in the house, and 1 we hope is on Zoom, depending on the connection. If not, we've got a video from this person. Each of these people have made significant contributions over the years in the field of trust building, and they've dedicated passion, commitment, and skill and expertise in this field and in their work. So with the first category is the Trustbuilding Award of the Year. So it's my pleasure to introduce the winner of the Trustbuilding Award of the Year, which goes to Wadia Corey. And that's Wadia, if you'd like to take a seat. Yeah, please. Big round of applause. Woo. Well done, Wadia. So this is for Wadia's organisation, which is called Teachers Agents of Social Change, based in Lebanon. Wadia is an associate professor at the Faculties of Education of the Lebanese University. And through her teaching and research, it focuses on the Lebanese education system, as well as citizenship education. Through her work with IofC over many years, she's studied the education system of over 20 countries, so really gaining an insight into how they operate and the strengths and weaknesses that she can take into her local work. So she's observed, through the citizenship education. You're going to explain more, much better than me, Wadia. So Wadia initiated the Teachers Agents of Social Change in Lebanon in
2019, but 2022 it was registered.
So the concept came about in 2019, registered only last year. So a very new initiative. So Wadia's aim with this work is to empower educators, help them discover their agency in how to shape the national policy of Lebanon, rather than just suffering the consequences of poor governance that's led to the country in despair. So you'll tell us much more about that in a moment, Wadia. Please take a seat. And for our next category, so this one recognizes the Young Trust Builder of the Year. So these were all under 30-year-old applications. And the winner of the Young Trust Builder of the Year award goes to a gentleman called Mumberi Siviwa. Thank you. Now, Mumberi, this will be a new name to many of us. Mumberi is from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we have him hopefully dialing in from DRC. Do we have him online, or should we come back to him? We'll come back to him, okay. So Mumberi's organization is about building bridges, is the translation, and it's an organization that it focuses on the reduction of community violence through reintegrating young ex-combatants from armed groups, particularly focusing in the eastern DRC. The project provides psychological support to these young people, as well as women who have given up arms, and supports them to deal with the stigma that they now face, and helps with the reintegration back into their communities. So we'll get Mumbera on Zoom in a moment. If the connection's not good, we've got a video from him. Mumbera's work creates spaces of expression where these young people and women, all ex-combatants, come together and focus on building trust with police and the local administrative authorities. He works in very extremely really difficult situations, poverty, corruption. He works with traditional chiefs, civil society actors, all in creating a space of dialogue of truth, is the word that he uses, for reconciliation and to create a culture of mutual trust. And finally, our Lifetime Achiever Award. So this award recognizes an individual who's dedicated their life, really, to building trust across divides. We all know this person very well. So please give a big round of applause to the winner of the Lifetime Achiever Award. It goes to Jean Brown. Well, a standing ovation is certainly well deserved for all these decades of trust building work. So at the moment, Jean Brown is the president of the International Council of Creators of Peace, which is a women's-led grassroots initiative that focuses on peace building and inner healing for women around the world. And as a young woman, Jean intended to study medicine, but chose instead to dedicate herself to initiatives of change work around the world. She has done this full-time work for over 5 decades, including many years, definitely, including many years in India and the US, pioneering projects such as leadership programs for Action for Life in India, and working with gang members in Los Angeles. Jean has made several visits to South Sudan over the years to support the reconciliation activities there. She's been involved with Creators of Peace since its very early days and was part of designing its main tool, which is the Creators of Peace circles. And they've now taken place in over 50 countries, 6 continents over the last 25 years. And this was all down to Jean's calling and conviction and creating this tool. So in Australia, Jean has been active in many different initiatives to advance reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. Jean is an inspiring teacher, trainer, introducing many people, many young people, to the joys and the challenges of spiritual life. Above all, and I think most importantly, Jean has been a treasured friend to countless people over these years. So at this point, we're going to have a discussion just to draw out more of these 3 winners' stories and convictions. First, we'll see if Mumbere is online. Yes. Welcome, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear us okay?
I speak French very well. I have a problem to English.
That's fine. You can feel free. Please speak in French, Mumbere.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, we're going to start with one question to all 3 of you. And I'd like to invite each of you, please, to share some general words about your work or about this award in general to the audience after receiving your Trust Building Award. So, Wadia, we'll start with you, please.
Alors,
No, we'll start with Mumbere.
en un mot, je tiens d'abord à dire merci.
First of all, I would like to thank you for recognising what I've been doing. As you said, I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's a country which has known many decades of war. It's somewhere where violence has been growing and it's really been affecting communities. So it's really important that we're trying to integrate these ex-combatants. After all of these years, there have been a lot of success with what we've been doing. A lot of people had been killed and the death toll has gone past 10,000 people. So we were trying to understand what can we do to resolve this problem, and so since 2016 I have been trying to find a different way of doing things. Not a way that promotes violence, not a way that promotes discrimination, but something that promotes love and social cooperation, and that allows people to live together in peace. So we are trying to reconciliate these ex-combatants into the community. These are all in zones where people have been killed. Yes, it does become a bit complicated what we are doing with the communities and getting them to reinsert into society. So we have sessions where we try and understand them and the psychosocial effects of their trauma. We try and get them to reconcile with their local community. We try to do this for both men and women. As you said, this is work that we're leading in very dangerous zones. But we must go there because that is how we can succeed in our work. We must go to the most violent zones, otherwise we won't be able to change anything. So for me, this prize means a lot to me because it recognises what we are doing, and there are people here who are fighting every single day for peace. But also within a lot of African countries, for example, Somalia, in Mali, in Sudan and South Sudan, there is violence. For me, this is a wonderful prize that recognises everything that we are doing to get ex-combatants to reintegrate into society. So thank you so much for this huge recognition.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Mumbere. And over to you, Wadia, please.
Merci.
Well, thank you, Talia, and thank you, everyone. It's deeply humbling to be at the same stage with your main inspirer, Jean. And just to tell you a bit about the program and about what I feel now. It all started in Action for Life. That's a leadership training program and organized by Initiatives of Change. And I had the chance to be one of the first, actually the first, in the first batch that was between 2001 and 2002. And during this program, I got to know about the Education Today, Society Tomorrow program in India. And it rang a bell that it is a very wise idea to deal with the teachers who are going to deal with the students and through them with the families. It stayed with me, and once back to Lebanon, I did what I advise many in IofC to do, combined my profession with my mission. So that solves the full-time, part-time matter in IofC. So all my work at university, because I did my PhD in education, was directed into canalizing the ideas of IofC into the teaching, no matter what the subject is. But it's only in 2019, when the revolution broke in Lebanon with the collapse of economy and the huge chaos that we experienced, and then it was followed by the disastrous Beirut explosion, that I decided that I should put the idea into practice and stop believing only in institutions, because we could not really do what we really aim to do within the universities. So then I started gathering university and school teachers to trust build. So I was using the trust building tools that I had, and that were then reinforced by the trust building program on which we were trained here in Caux with Rob Corcoran. And we were using the space at the office of Remise in Beirut. And we noticed that the teachers, once they share about what made them the people they are and what are the turning experiences in their lives and what are the main fears and aspirations, they developed a certain affection towards each other, even though they belong to antagonist political parties or they support antagonist political ideas. So then the idea developed, and I thought one day while waking up in the morning that we, the teachers, have a big task. And I was concentrating on the word task. So I said, okay, let's work on this. And it came teachers as agents of social change. We are teachers and we have a task. This is the motto. And after the Beirut explosion, I decided to transform a big part of my apartment in Beirut, of which I only used 2 rooms. Jean knows the apartment, into a center of meeting for teachers, which happened for some time, but now we are facing the problem of the exponential price of fuel. So a teacher cannot really reach. So for the moment, I'm going to the schools. And I've been working in cooperation with 3 NGOs, and recently when it was registered, I started operating on my own, and more to follow.
Amazing. Thank you, Wadia. And Jean, over to you, please.
Thank you. It's always so nice to be recognized. I think we all feel that, don't we? My feeling is that underlying these awards is the recognition and honoring of trust building itself. That's the real winner here. Building trust across the world's divides. What a precious task, and we're all invited to embrace it. It's always been a collective journey for me. I'm not so keen on the word achievement, I have to say, Talia. I would prefer the word commitment. You know, because it's never finished. So I committed my life 56 years ago to a calling that I heard, and wonderful people have worked and traveled with me over the years, or I have worked and traveled with them over the years, and I honor them. And in the light of that, I would like to share this recognition with them, countless wonderful people around the world. And the commitment continues.
Thank you, Jean. And Mumbere, a question for you, please. You've done so much great work already as a young person, and I'm sure there's much more inspiring work still to come. So what does the future hold for you and for your trust building work?
Merci beaucoup pour la question.
Thank you very much for that question. We are having a look at the work that we can do in the future, and when we reflect about this, we think that we need to work more on humanity, especially in African countries. I was born in war, and something that really touched all of us was the Rwandan genocide. Now I've said that all of these years that have passed, how can we help the next generation? So my response would be that there is the possibility to adopt methods that we can be more honest and allow trust and honest dialogue, to speak to those who are violent and to speak to ambassadors and bring them messages of peace. We need to be promoting peace and trust building and not encouraging any kind of violence. These are very complicated situations. So we need more and more people who are going to work on trust building. For our community at the moment, we can see that there are inter-community tensions, but we need to look at one another as a human. The work is truly immense. We need to try and educate as many young people as possible to prevent them going into combat or picking up arms. I'm rather impatient to do this. This is a full lifetime commitment for me. And I'm trying to take every opportunity that is presented before me to work on this. We know that there are people who have fought for questionable causes, but we want to try and help them and reintegrate them.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer, Momberi. And Wadia, a question for you, please. Your trust building initiative, Teacher Agents of Social Change, what impact does it have on teachers in Lebanon? If you can share a bit of that insight of your program, please.
Sure. The program has two components. There is the intrapersonal component, where I work dealing with the wounds of the past, and the trust building, where the teachers have their trust circle, and by sharing their stories, they discover the harmony and what is common with others. While in Lebanon, we have a very diverse educational system and very liberal media. So you can grow up in your school of your own confession, religious confession, and go to the university that is of your majority group, and watch the TV of your group all your life without knowing the other. So by being in these circles, they get to know about the others, and they abolish the prejudice about the others, which then they transmit to their students smoothly and naturally. It's not like something they got, it's something they discovered. It's not knowledge, it's really conviction. And then we have the other component, which is the civic component. It's all the skills that I believe and we believe the teachers should have, which are the virtuous leadership. So we're basing everything on the virtues, the four virtues of prudence, justice, courage, and self-mastery. And the skill of mediation, the skill of constructive and peaceful communication. And I give them a component about the difference between minimal and maximal citizenship, because all of our citizenship books are based on the minimal. It means like obedience to the law, election, without saying anything about critical thinking, etc. So they move to the maximal, where it is participatory and justice-oriented. And with all that, I give a component about the pedagogy of integration, so that the teacher of mathematics, of sports, also knows that they have the same responsibility as the teacher of religion, of morality, of philosophy in acquiring the virtues. So this is it. And what they acquire is that they go out knowing each other, transmitting to others what they have gained, and embedding these skills and these virtues in their own lessons. But more than that, through the past 3 years, I've been cooperating with an organization called NAFDA. NAFDA means new beginning, and they were the main partners before TASC became an association. So we were thinking what would be the best curriculum for teachers to become agents of change, because we share these values. And whatever I suggested, they made me do like 3-4 curriculums. They said, oh, it's too costly, or it's too long, it takes too much time. Then, while going to Beirut, you know, we have so many holes in the roads. In one of the big holes, it came to my mind the idea, why not create a game? So I created a board game associated to a guidebook, where I passed all the IofC messages without saying it's really IofC, and the civic skills. So now, when we were evaluating this in May, I realized that so many of the teachers of these 20 schools are speaking these convictions as if they are their own. They forgot who gave them to them, which is the aim. We're not supposed to say, I am the author. And this year, we're opening up to 100 schools. So this is a kind of building the creative minority that would change the teacher from being an executor of public policies to being a policy maker himself.
Amazing. Amazing, Wadia. Well, 100 schools in only 2 years or so. That's incredible pace of working. 3 years. Fantastic. And Jean, you've done some really incredible work throughout your life. So what has been some of the highlights for you in your trust building work?
You're starting with the third question. Gosh, there are just so many, Talia. I struggled when I was trying to think how I would answer this question. I mean, essentially, I think the greatest highlights are always witnessing a person finding freedom. You know, I think so much of the essence of our work with IofC, with trust building, is liberating people from whatever it may be, hurts, grievances, trauma, to then become, in their turn, trust builders. So my encounters, whether it's 15 years in India, years in sometime in Africa, years in the United States, in other parts of the world, and now, of course, in Australia. So it's just this amazing range of encounters of people finding their way to transformation. Incredibly privileged to be sort of around and playing a small part in situations such as the establishment of the new state of Meghalaya in northeast India back in the 60s, or helping in the opening of the center at Panchgani in the 60s. Working with students in south of India to help settle a very long-running strike in the Standard Motors industry. Wonderful Creators of Peace conferences, one in Uganda. Being present when the establishment of the Hope in the Cities program in America, race relations, such a powerful program which has spread through so many areas of the nation there. But I think, you know, it ultimately boils down really to seeing God at work in people's lives. And that's from peasants to politicians I've had the privilege of interacting with. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you for sharing some of those memories with us. Now, my final question is the same question to the three of you. If we go back to the beginning of your journey as trust builders, what was your conviction or your calling about getting into trust building work? If we can have a brief answer, if possible, please. Mumbere, did you catch that question?
It's possible you translate, please?
Yeah.
OK. Quelle était la première motivation pour que tu commences ton travail sur la construction de la confiance? Donc, si tu penses au début de ton travail en tant que constructeur de la confiance, quelle était ta première motivation?
Alors, ma première motivation,
So my very first motivation was seeing how much other people were suffering. After a bit of time, I realised that because other people were suffering, we were all suffering. I have my daughter and I have a family, and I tried to think about this situation, and I thought, what would I like to do to change this? So I opted for orientation, and I asked myself, what would my part of responsibility be for the next generation? So we started our work, and slowly but surely we started to really focus on how we can achieve this. With our 3 teams of volunteers that we've created over the years, we are able to now make a change. We're able to give hope to people who didn't have hope before. We are also trying to be hopeful about the future here. We are hoping that with time we will have even more hope. We want to see people smiling. We want to see children smiling. So for me, my determination to work on this inclusion and building trust, it comes from my want to feel that I can alleviate some of the suffering of other people. But as I said before, we have a lot of communities, and in the West Zone there is a lot of diversity. But this also creates some confrontation and conflicts. So we really wanted to create spaces for truth and for dialogue. So we really asked ourselves, how can we end up living together in peace? And this is what we've really focused on with our 3 teams. There is an association called Jamaa, and this has the main basis and the idea that we are one big family. After all of the diversity and the things that divide us, we wanted to think about how we can resolve problems, and that every problem can be resolved in a family setting.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. And Wadia, please.
Well, I'd like to summarize the answer and seize my time to give some acknowledgements for the people who trusted the initiative. So I'd say very simply that trust is like the water of life for Lebanon, because it is the lack of trust that is behind all our hardships, from wars to the impossibility of agreeing on any vital and developmental project in Lebanon. And that's because all decisions are taken in consensus by people from all different parties. So even a curriculum we cannot renew because of this lack of trust. So we're building the base. I'd like to seize this occasion to acknowledge, to also convey my gratitude for all people who trusted task from the beginning, starting from my friend Megumi in Japan, who mobilized friends to support. I mean, materially and morally. I'll go geographically, okay? And then my friend Mohan Bhagwandas from Australia, and Yonok Jong from Korea, who mobilized some of the funds of the APCG, which were not used for the travel at that time, also to help in the center and in the work. And then I'll move to France. Charles Dongui, he participated. And our friends in Holland, there is my friend Arie van Buren here, and Henny de Paus and Johannes de Paus. And I'd like to give also special thanks to our friend Heinrich Pieck in Germany, assisted by Ulrike Keller here. And more than the material help, Heinrich has offered to make the logo of Task and the website for free, and this is a huge donation. Yes, and I'd like also to finally acknowledge my friends who are the fathers of this support, who are Ramiz, of course. Everybody thinks he's my dad, but he's my spiritual dad, not my biological dad. Because administrative things are very complicated in Lebanon. He's always there to support. And Monsignor, who is my spiritual father, and he supported the idea from the beginning. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Wadia. And thank you for all of Wadia's supporters. Jean, the final word is with you. Your calling and conviction, please.
you. Well, as I referred to, 56 years ago, I was planning to study medicine, as Talia said, but my grades were not very good, and I couldn't get a place into medical school anywhere. I was applying all over the world. And one morning I woke up and I sort of threw my arms in the air and I said, God, what am I going to do with my life? And I got this very clear message. I want you to be a different sort of doctor. I want you to give your life to work with me. And funnily enough, I just felt so immediately, yes, even though you could say it's very vague, but I just felt a great sense of confidence. And that very afternoon, the only offer I ever had of a place to study medicine reached me that afternoon. But I just knew that, God had got in first. And, the first divides that I had to build trust across, the first was with my father, so that was a very bitter relationship. So that was my first task. And then I had to build some trust with my own integrity. I'd been stealing money from my mother. And so being honest about that was the beginning of restoring some sense of integrity. I certainly didn't become perfect at that point, but it was a start. And there was a lot of just inner turbulence, inner confusion. I was a 21-year-old, troubled by many things. And that was a deep divide in my spirit, in my personality. So addressing that was beginning to also address my relationship with what I understood as God. But as the years have gone by, I've understood and witnessed the deep, deep divides between communities, in families, but communities, in countries where I've worked, and come face to face with the huge divides caused by the behavior of my people. So I'm British born. I've married an Australian, but becoming aware of the huge legacy of British injustice, cruelty, dispossession, etc. And facing the fact that sort of arrogance, greed, superiority, knowing best, etc., greed very much so, which drove my ancestors, those are still alive in me and have to be addressed. Those are divides between who I am now and the truly, fully human person that I long to become. And so being part of addressing these divides, becoming aware of them, and caring enough about how to heal some of them within me and around me has just been a fantastic ongoing journey. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jean. And I believe Wadia has two more people to thank.
They are ARCG because they also supported in their own way by allowing me to give a training. And there are two people who are not IofC related, and that's why I didn't mention them at the beginning. There's a person called Karl Grunder and his wife Beatrice Grunder, who they couldn't be here tonight, and René Warney, who's now being a continuous friend for Task. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Wadia. Well, once again, many congratulations to the three of you, and thank you for each of your very important work that you've been doing and will continue to do. You're an inspiration to us all. So one more round of applause, everyone. Thank you. Back to you, Imad. Thank you.
Thank you, Talia, and congratulations again. I do want also to acknowledge those who did not win. They are winners in many ways. Their work is also amazing, but it's the nature of the exercise. We decided to only choose 3 and 30 applied. So I just want to acknowledge their work and also others who didn't think they should apply or didn't know about it. So just to make that acknowledgement. Friends, would like to just give the certificate to our winners. We can only do it to 2 of them who are here, so Mumbri will pass it to you some other way, unless you still would like a virtual picture. But for now, may I invite just those who will do the honors, our president, Professor Gerald Pillay, and representing IofC Switzerland, Ignacio Parker, and representing IofC USA Board, Valerie Limmy, here she is. Together with Talia, please, how do you want to do this with the pictures? And maybe that could be the way out as well. Yes. Shall we start with Eugene? Few words of closing remarks from Professor Pillay, please.
Dear friends, you can see what a wonderful event this is. And it is a premier event because we haven't done this before. It's the first time that we as an organization are honoring trust builders. This is over and above the trust building program, which is an excellent program, but we want to acknowledge trust builders who work in the methodology we hope they work, and who do this great work all over the world. There are two reasons we do this. We in the IofC don't do celebrity culture, but what we do is saying thank you, and that we must do even better every opportunity we have. And as you saw with the modesty of the winners, they are almost embarrassed by it. But let me say to Dr. Curry, Mrs. Brown, and Mr. Mumbera, there are two reasons why we have decided to start this. And that is, the first is, we can write long paragraphs and have books on trust building. We can point to trust building being pillar 2 of our 4 pillars. But all of that talk means nothing until we can get some examples who actually embody what we mean. And then we can say to the family of IofC, but also say to the world, this is what we mean. And we can point to people, and we can copy them. That's the one reason we do it. The other is simply because to be a trust builder is a pretty anonymous affair. In fact, our anonymity helps us to be trust builders. So people get the newspaper headlines, and the people who are reconciled are photographed, but the trust builder must stand away. That's not what we are about. We do it quietly, and sometimes the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. That's a good trust builder. And these folk have been doing this quietly, outside the headlines. And it is important that we, as IofC, where trust building is so endemic to what we do, that we do find an occasion like this to award them and thank them and hold them up as an example. And I want to thank especially Dr. Karam, my colleague Imad, who it's been very close to his heart. I've seen this as something that he thought would be good. And this is what I think the IofC Awards each year can reach out way beyond the IofC. And you're right, Imad, let's find occasions each year to make these announcements, and they'll gain in stature. It'll make our organization a little bit more acknowledged as an organization. And these individuals bring glory not to themselves, but to all of us. And while I'm saying thank you, let me thank those behind the scenes. Again, we do things in this movement behind the scenes. The jury, I know that they've had 30 applications and they worked through this and they came up with these. Thank you for all those who applied. This not getting the award doesn't mean you didn't do well. I'm going to say to Dr. Khoury and Mr. Mambera, it'll be great one day, I don't know if I'll be on stage, but somebody's saying that you'll become lifetime winners, like Mrs. Brown. And I'd like to say to all of those who applied and those who will apply in the future, this is here. Use this opportunity to launch your own vision so that others may be inspired. So to the jury, to the team, and there's a wonderful team. You saw Talia just now, to my colleague Imad, to Omar, who behind the scenes gets all of these things and briefs us. Elena, thank you. The comms team, thank you very much. And our sponsors, they don't have a representative here tonight. FETSA, the FETSA Foundation, has made a remarkable contribution to the work of IofC. The trust building program you know about, they are very generous and very, very supportive. And I want to say thank you in public. Thank you to IofC Caux, and thank you, Ignacio, and your board, and the others who support us. We're very grateful for helping us. And IofC USA, who helped us towards getting more than just a certificate, something to show our reward more fully. I'm very grateful. What will you do without our translators? It's amazing, huh? Just what they do, again, anonymously, behind somewhere, some screen. They keep us connected, so thank you very much. I said we don't do celebrity culture here. We must decrease while he must increase. This is not our cause, it is God's cause. But we must be faithful. And every time we do say thank you, we are pointing to concrete examples that we can follow. So thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you, Professor Pillay. Just finally, friends, we've just got to remind you about the program tomorrow. So just an announcement, Sebastian, if you could do that, please. And then we'll have, thank you, to our wonderful musicians, Ulrika and Nick, who will entertain us as we come to an end after Sebastian, please.
Thank you, Imad. Just some short announcements for tomorrow. So it's a gap day tomorrow, no conference, but there are still some events happening. First of all, for everyone who is joining online, there are 2 online events happening. Please have a look at your inbox. There's the IofC and Virtual Cafe, bonding over diversity and welcome to Caux. And for everyone here, for the audience here in Caux, we will have quiet time again at the bay window here in the morning at 7:15, like you're used to over the last days. And then after breakfast in the Belle Époque, so that's the beautiful room on the same floor near to the entrance, we have a multi-faith prayer. Please feel free to bring your own prayer. And please be on time for the multi-faith prayer. At 10:30, we have the Culture of Care conversations, which will be here in the main hall, and this will be in a form of an open space. So this will be a space for you to have the conversations that you want to have. We will continue then in the afternoon with the regional meetings. So there will be 5 meetings, one for Europe in room 400, one for the Americas in room 115, one for the MENA region in room 215. The Africa group will meet in the Belle Époque, and in the Asia and Pacific group will meet in 300C. Right after, please come back here if you have the time. We will have an amazing event from the Living History team with the title Living History, Living Arts. And then in the evening, we have the Sundown Soirée with a welcoming for all the TID participants and a film screening, Stranger at the Gate, with the director joining us from the United States via Zoom. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. And I guess the program will be available on the screens, maybe on the app if possible. And any opportunity to remind us tomorrow would be helpful. Montbury is still connected, I suspect. I just want to say congratulations again. Thanks for joining us online. Sorry you couldn't be with us in person, but delighted to welcome you to the family as well. Thank you to our audience online, friends who've joined us online all this time. Thank you all, and let's enjoy some more music. Please, this is it. Thank you.